What's up, everybody? Wes, Dead Air Knipe here with always
Typical Lydia.
Today's show we're going to be doing the 2022 slasher Halloween classic Terrifier 2. Ding, 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 ding. I'm ringing the dinner bell from my mashed potatoes that I'm gonna shove into a orifice or two.
Because we already did the horn, and the horn does play a part in this one. One of my favorite scenes in the Abracadabra costume shop in New York, which I desperately want to visit.
Oh, is that a real location? I didn't know that.
It is. I looked it up because at first I thought, because I couldn't see the name on the guy's shirt or on the backwards signs and stuff. I thought it was Alohomora, and I'm like, that's not right. That can't be right. So I looked it up, and it was like, yes, Abracadabra. It's the perfect name for a store. And yeah, they do have Terrifier merch. So if you want maybe the dinner bell, definitely the horn, and certainly the sunflower glasses, you can get them at that nice shop.
The sunflower glasses are one of those things that has become inextricably linked to the Terrifier franchise, which is interesting what people decide to grasp onto. There's other things in these films that I would argue are more prominent, but I suppose you can't sell children a flamethrower despite what Spaceballs would have us believe.
No, you can't. And that's one thing that I really like about them using a real location for that, is that him picking through all of those Halloween-y things, you get to see some things that you or I could pick up from the shelves at any other costume store. Like we have, what is the name of the costume store here? Malabar?
I don't know, actually. I know that all I know is like Party City and Spirit Halloween, but I don't know about the regularly scheduled costume shops that really exist. Maybe, I guess I just know Party City. Is that even in operation anymore? I don't know.
I don't know. I haven't gone to a Party City in a very, very long time. Malabar used to be where people would get their colored contacts and things like that when they weren't going to Trivium, like a store we're probably more familiar with because it was downtown. Malabar is not downtown. It's elsewhere in Ottawa. But yeah, it's that sort of place where you've got all sorts of different Halloween-y things. And now they have a bunch of Art the Clown things. And one of the things that we talk about with this particular film, and me and Chris talk about it quite often, how they don't technically sexualize a lot of these women. However, I did see you can now get a sexy girl's Art the Clown outfit from Abracadabra Shop in New York.
Well, I mean, that seems monstrously inappropriate, perhaps more inappropriate than all of the graphic deaths that happen into this. I want to take this opportunity to pour one out for Ottawa's own Trivium. What a great store. If you were goth and you lived in the Ottawa area, you went to Trivium, and wow, it used to be really cool. And it was the location in one of the big malls downtown, and then it moved further up the road, and it had a bigger location. And first you're sad, you're like, oh no, it's out of the mall, and you feel sad. And then it gets into a new corner location that's super big, but also kind of lost some of the oeuvre. Don't you feel like when it was there, there was so much light, and it was so big, it started looking kind of like a department store. It didn't fit. I was like, where's the grunginess? Where's the dank? Where's the cave-like atmosphere where you feel like you're walking into a fetish store? And I will say that if I ever want to make myself depressed, I will just look up Trivium Ottawa, just so Google can tell me permanently closed.
Mm-hmm. They went online for a little while. I did like their new location, but you're definitely right. It lost the dank. It got too bright. It looked like a boutique and not a spooky boutique. But I first discovered Trivium on the Bank Street location, which was so cool. And I'd gone in there talking about like horror events. And they said, hey, you should go and put this in our mall store, because it was like copies of my book and promotion for the book. And they were like, yeah. So that's when I finally realized there was one in Rideau Center, which seemed weird to me because I'm like, this big splashy mall, well before it had a Hot Topic, had Trivium. They got in a lot of trouble for doing a very graphic Halloween display in their window one year in the mall. I think it was like 2 years before they left the mall. And it pales in comparison to the stuff in this film, let alone the first Terrifier. If only these films had been out, I think they would have saved Trivium a lot of grief because they made the newspaper and everything, the local newspaper, because they had a graphic thing. People said it was violence against women that they were showing, and it was like the woman that had the two women that had set up this display were like, we're women. We don't feel it's violence against women. It's like a horror thing. It's hedging on horror tropes of women getting chased by chainsaw wielding maniacs. Like, no one ever talks about how the maniac feels.
I don't. I usually find that people who get offended by some of the tropes that are in slashers probably remember way back when they were referred to exclusively as women in danger films before we started calling them slasher movies. And you can thank Siskel and Ebert for that ridiculous term. But the thing with Terrifier is, what do you say, Lids, to a film that is lightning in a bottle? And we've seen this before lots of times in horror. And you could observe about the first Terrifier film coming all the way back out in 2016. And okay, there was a perfect conflation of circumstances that made a film like this very popular. Now, we've seen in the past very few horror sequels in this subgenre. I'm not including the Conjuring universe because that's a different thing altogether. We're talking about down and dirty, grimy and gritty slasher films that are objectively hard to watch for people who generally don't watch a lot of horror films. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a great example of something that was hard for new audiences to experience because they had never seen anything like that before. And people can have their thoughts about how graphic Texas Chainsaw is compared to films like Terrifier, but you have to take yourself back to 1974 and things were different. But let's not make a mistake and think that Texas Chainsaw 2, people can like that movie. They can like it more than the first Texas Chainsaw movie. It was nowhere near the phenomenon that the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre was. And all of those films that were released subsequently had diminishing returns. Now, not including the Texas Chainsaw remake, which made a boatload of cash. That's kind of a different thing. But we're talking about films going back to the well. Could Damien Leone and company make another Terrifier movie and have anywhere near the recognition that the first one did? Not only did they get more recognition, it was so much more successful. So much more successful. And it stopped being a niche, weird thing on memes that had people talking, and it became certified box office gold.
I think that a lot of people too also watched Terrifier 2 not having watched the first Terrifier and maybe asking friends and such, like, is it important for me to watch like the other one? Because like I just want to go to the theater tonight and or get in on the hype train without having to invest in having watched the first one. Because a lot of people who watched the first one well after getting saturated in the art, the clown that is Terrifier 2, are sort of turned off the first one, I find.
It really is true. And in a weird way, Terrifier 1 seems so much more experimental in terms of trying to establish what Art the Clown even is, what this franchise even is. It's hard to market it, really, aside from just putting Art the Clown's face on a lunchbox and a t-shirt. But Terrifier 2, this is where the lion's share of the merchandise comes from. And this is kind of the Art the Clown that people think about. These are the kills that the people think about. People kind of, I'm not going to say forgot, that's not fair and not true. But I will say that when you're dealing with pop culture stuff, if you're looking at a picture of Art the Clown with sunflower glasses on, or if you're looking at a box of Art Krispies, or if you're looking at Sienna Shaw, you're not looking at anything from Terrifier 1. You're only looking at stuff from Terrifier 2, and that's where the bulk of the merchandise. If you go to Spirit Halloween, which is, I don't even think they're still open right now, but it's, by the way, it's November 1st. We're still in our Halloween hangover. But unlike department stores, dear listeners, we're keeping it going. We're not just closing up. No Santa Claus yet. You go to Spirit Halloween and it's the Pale Girl. It's Art the Clown. It's in the sunglasses. It's Sienna. It's all of this stuff from Terrifier 2.
Which is very strange to me in that most of the stuff, like we discussed previously, is fun and cutesy. And even I, on the 5th viewing of Terrifier 2, am taken aback at some of the very, not just the gory scenes. There's some gory scenes that are still kind of slapstick, but there's some scenes in this that are harrowing, and they rival those very grindhousey, harrowing, terrible, gory scenes in Terrifier 1 that we love so much. And it's just so, it still will always be sort of incongruent to me. It's sunflower glasses art versus scalping a girl in her bedroom art. You know, and some of those forlorn, angry looks he gets on his face aren't there with the, hands beside your face, jazz hands kind of grinning, maliciously grinning, but grinning all the same, Art the Clown. It doesn't sit very well with me that people have a popularity and a fixation on the cutesy, fun, almost clown nature of Art the Clown. It leads me to believe that they weren't in on the ground floor, and they wouldn't have been in on the ground floor if they had watched the first Terrifier. They might have not been so enamored with sunflower glasses, googly glasses, wearing Art the Clown, mashed potatoes serving Art the Clown.
It is funny, isn't it? But, I think it kind of goes back to how people approached some of our more iconic, just as iconic. Let's be clear. Art the Clown, I believe, is just as iconic these days as Freddy and Jason. It's the same level for sure. But when I think back to Freddy Krueger, the Freddy Krueger that I was most familiar with as a little kid was the Freddy Krueger from the later movies, the Bugs Bunny with knives on his hands version of Freddy Krueger, the great graphics, like that Freddy Krueger. Same thing with my understanding of Jason Voorhees, not known for the yucks, but Jason Voorhees, the version that I knew was like zombie Jason. He was zombie hockey mask Jason. Like, lo and behold, my realization that, oh, he's not even in the first movie, not really, and oh, he's a baghead. When you're a little kid, you don't know. I'm familiar with Jason on the Nintendo box. That's the Jason that I know. And so when you show me the first 2 Friday the 13th movies, where's Jason? And then you see 3 and you're like, well, now he has the mask, but he doesn't look like Jason to me. And I remember the reason why I liked Friday the 13th part 6 so much, when he came back as like zombie Jason and he swipes the screen like James Bond and all that blood comes down. I said out loud, oh, this is the Jason. This is the one that I recognize from the Nintendo box. This is the Jason that people talk about in parody. This is what I think about. The unstoppable hockey masked killing machine that you could shoot 1,000,000 times and he doesn't do anything. This Art the Clown is going, I can almost guarantee you, like the Art the Clown of the first Terrifier film and beyond, like, because, this isn't his first cinematic appearance, will become more and more obscured as Terrifier 4 is not out yet, but as this character becomes inevitably a parodic version of itself, as they lean into what is the most commercial.
Which, they do and continue to do and already have. It's not the driving force behind the Pale Girl, but I was watching some behind the scenes stuff or an interview. Damien Leone had said something about, I saw all these women dressing as Art the Clown and thought, well, I really have to flesh out this idea I had of injecting some sort of female demonic Art the Clown type person. Hence, the Pale Girl was born because it's marketable and the fans demanded it. So there's some like fan service that he was tapping into definitely there. So they're not allergic to fan service by any means. I really hope, and I have my fingers crossed, that in part 4, like we're supposed to, get some backstory on Art. I really, really hope that we go back to a little bit more of the, unexplained, all quasi supernatural Art the Clown, because there are so many lore questions and headcanon, as people would say, that is built into it because there's so many unanswered questions. But I like him being enigmatic. I prefer him being enigmatic, although I can't shame the people who like this like sunflower glass adorned hokey jokey Art the Clown cafe level of yucks, because I still laugh at him too. I mean, he's a clown after all. Maybe I laugh at different parts than a lot of people, but yeah, he's funny and he is a clown. So yeah, I do dig that. I'm very excited to see where part 4 goes, and I worry. I'm not worry is not the right word, because Hollywood does what Hollywood wants and what it can afford, and what the people will pay for. But there has been some changes in the world of Terrifier since last we spoke. We talked about Terrifier 1, and I remember looking up Catherine Corcoran, or however you pronounce her name. It's like an Irish last name. The girl who gets sawed in half and plays Dawn in Terrifier 1. And I was curious because I was like, is she from Ireland with a last name like that? So I was looking that up. Now she's from Philadelphia, whatever. So are a lot of Irish in America. But there was no like other real news on her. And we had talked about this before. Like, she doesn't really do appearances much. She's written articles and such, and she's talked about like being typecast a little bit. And then all of a sudden in the last 2 weeks, it has been nothing but Terrifier news. Terrifier 1 specifically, because her royalties package was 1% of royalties, and it sort of petered out after a while. So she wasn't paid what people would expect someone who is the other face of Terrifier. The girl who got sawed in half is the thing. She's the set piece of really the whole franchise. She's credited in Terrifier 2 because they do use her likeness when Jonathan's looking through his dad's art book. And it is kind of in the back of your mind too, while you're watching all these kills, like, is it going to match the ferocity and the unexpected nature and just the wanton insanity of that particular scene that she's in? So I get the point that she's making, that she hasn't been paid royalties in a couple years. She's gotten nothing but, I think, $8,900, somewhere under $10,000 over the life cycle of these movies, which doesn't seem like as much as I would personally like to have seen her make. But yeah, so I hope that doesn't, this. And Steve Barton from Dread Central has come out with a very long article that I read this morning about his sentiment of feeling cut off and let down maybe by those filmmakers, which is unfortunate because I've heard nothing but good things. I love the way that they seem to be like a really family indie filmmaking group in all the behind the scenes footage and all of the interviews that I've seen, and the other people that show up for appearances alongside them. Like, everyone seems to get along really good and worked really hard together as a, almost a Lloyd Kaufman-esque, Trauma-esque indie horror film family. So it's just, I don't know how that's all going to shake out in the news. We'll never know how it's going to shake out in the behind the scenes. But that said, I hope it doesn't impact any of the future for Terrifier 4.
Yeah, we'll see, because I mean, Damien Leone has like put his foot in his mouth previously about like just like general, where his politically agnostic, which in today's day and age is rubs a lot of people the wrong way. I hope that this actress gets her bag, as they say. I think that there's plenty of money to go around, particularly since the 1% of her deal included merchandise. So, I mean,
Mhm.
how, like, and then you'd have to determine, is it this legal fandangling where, well, all this merchandise actually is for Terrifier 2, and your argument was for, your contract was for Terrifier 1, and so he's got the sunglasses on, you don't get a piece of this. Or this has Sienna on it, this says Terrifier 2 on it. It's kind of like a weird legal loophole. It's why you see uh you don't see Scream merchandise, you see Ghostface merchandise. It says Ghostface, it doesn't say Scream on it, and there's a very specific reason for that. Have you ever noticed, have you ever bought a Halloween anything and Michael Myers has the bloody tears down his eyes? It's not an artistic choice, it's to let you know that is Michael Myers from Halloween 2, not Halloween 1, is because the merchandising contracts for these things are different. And so hopefully they make things right. They give her what she's owed. Like, there's something about watching films when they're really in their infancy and no one knows, you give someone a 1% back end deal hoping things work out, and all of a sudden this thing becomes what it did. And I doubt, this is one of those things where nobody could predict it, because you can't predict this type of shit in the entertainment business. That's why they say there's no such thing as a sure thing, so do the interesting thing. So in this case, I'm hoping it's just a case of like, shit got away from you and the blah, blah, blah. She did say that, she tried to approaching them privately about this and seemed to get brushed off. So I don't know. Like, I don't know what happens to people's brains when you start making a fuck ton of money and then all of a sudden you just start hoarding it like a dragon sleeping on treasure. I'm not a rich man, so I don't know what it's like to be a rich person. So all I know is that if your movie is making tens of millions of dollars off of a shoestring budget, and that's not even including merchandise, you probably have enough to do the right thing and have some goodwill, because, frankly speaking, like, I don't think you can explain why the Terrifier movies work for when they did. I think we're too deep in it right now. We're going to need 10 years to like really, I mean, I know it'll be 10 years since the first Terrifier movie came out. Scary thinking, but I think when, like, how it worked, how it coincided, I believe that things like the pandemic had something to do with it. I believe that the internet had a huge thing to do with it, and it became like this film franchise is a bit of a dare for people, and some people have genuinely made this like a humongous part of their personality in a way that I've not really ever seen before. Like, where
Yeah.
people are like, Art the Clown is like like, if you need, like, like, get to know me, you need to know that I like the Terrifier franchise. Wild. Why do I need to know that you like this movie to get to know you? It doesn't make any sense. But anyway, that's all that. I think that, like, when it comes to these Terrifier films and how they progress in the scripts, brought to you by Dread Central, brought to you by Bloody Disgusting, brought to you by Indiegogo, it's such a committee of people and force around this. And Damien Leone definitely strikes me as a guy that, like, yeah, I saw cosplayers wanting to cosplay Art the Clown, but there's not a lot of women characters if you want to be the bad guy, so I'll just put some more in there. So, because, like, one of the things that should be discussed is the fact that this film franchise has been embraced by so many women
Hmm.
because of there's no sexual violence in it. Not really. Like there's, like,
Yeah.
when you're talking about extreme horror films, a lot of people know what that means. If you're talking about the French extremes or any of that type of stuff, what's included in a lot of that? Not all of it, but some of it. And so you're like, well, I want to watch hardcore horror films or hardcore exploitation films. But like, when it comes to Last House or I Spit on Your Grave, Martyrs, fucking uh, Miss 45, everything, Gator Bait. Like there's assault in all of these hardcore movies, and they want to watch hardcore movies too, but maybe they don't want to watch that aspect of a hardcore horror movie. Lots of people don't. So this, he's throwing them, yeah, you can be the pale girl. You can be Victoria. You could be, I don't know, fuck it. You can be gender bent Art the Clown. Do it. I've seen that a lot of times.
Yeah, I've seen a hell of a lot of that. I've seen a gender bent Pyramid Head, so you can pretty much slap whatever costume over whatever genitalia you please, or lack of genitalia, and me and Chris were talking about this, how it's not even the overt sexual assault or any other sort of assault. It's just the sexualization, or it's the lecherous nature of a man toward a woman, where regardless of whether you are a man or a woman, you're sitting on the couch going, leave her the fuck alone, dude. Like, even that gets tiresome after a while. And you could say, like, there's no assault in this. There's no overt sexualization of these women. There isn't even that lecherous nature, which is so refreshing and so hard to pull off believably. And it shouldn't be, because most people don't operate like that. They really fucking don't. Like, I haven't been around horrible leches in a very long time. Like, everyone I know is pretty well balanced. Everyone I know would pretty much call out that sort of behavior or avoid people that behave like that. So it shouldn't be fucking hard. But, okay, whatever. Somehow they pull this off. And still keep like a fairly gritty New York or New Jersey attitude to a lot of this, where you would think that maybe they would inject some of that, because there could be like some sort of, and I hate to say it, Guido culture going on in the streets, a lecherous Irish American culture. There could be a whole bunch of different street life, nightlife, party goers, drug-induced fondling and unwanted attraction, unwanted advances or assault that are related to all the things that these girls get up to in this film, let alone the first one where they're just two girls out at night. All the sort of dangers that sort of play in your mind, they don't go there. And it's like, wow, kudos to you.
Yeah, everyone that they approach is really nice in Terrifier 1. That's the thing that makes it so hard that all of these people in Terrifier 1 don't survive, is because it's like everyone here is just nice. Everyone here is helpful. Yeah. Everyone here is just trying to give everyone else a break. But fuck all that, Lydia. Fuck it all to hell. The ninth circle of hell. What is this movie even about anyways? We got to let them know.
We do. But just watching the two films back to back alone will let you know that this movie is really about birth, rebirth, death, and metaphor and allegory, and how maybe in the first film he was told there's not a lot of substance here. People need allegory. People need to hang their hat on mythological meanings and shit. So he was like, here, I'll just dump a whole fuck ton of allegory and metaphor around every fucking corner. And whether it all really drives the plot or works with the singular story of this, the story of Sienna, that is, that it doesn't matter. You can sort it out. You can have some meaning. Here, he has some meaning. She has some meaning. We all get some extra meanings, because the first film was the way I like stories to be told. Very straightforward, not a lot of metaphor. And if there is, then it's like huge allegories, not little tiny metaphors, not like overly ambiguous metaphor. I like ambiguous storylines as they relate to reality. And that is a lot of what's happening in the first one. And you had pointed out quite point blank that this story is about these two women that go out and have a terrible fucking night through no fault of their own. That's what the story is about. It doesn't need a magical plot. It doesn't need a whole bunch of metaphor. It doesn't need to be about rebirth and death like this one is about rebirth and death. And we do get like a final girl rebirth scene and all those things that you need that are packed full of metaphor that come part and parcel with a hell of a lot of other movies. especially horror.
The biggest change between Terrifier 1 and Terrifier 2 is not just the length of the film, but as you had pointed out, all of the extra bit of plot that they incorporate this. I'm very curious if the weird, disjointed nature of the storytelling of this plot has anything to do with the fact that this Sienna Shaw character, this avenging angel type woman final girl, it was another film that Damien Leone had wanted to make after he had made The Ninth Circle, and that film project had fallen apart and was dead in the water. After the success of Terrifier, he wanted to bring in this character, and so I would guess that as this character that he had created in this film that he had wanted to do about this avenging angel type character morphed into the final girl of Sienna Shaw, aspects of what that film were going to be and her story as the heroine was going to be was added to the plot of Terrifier 2, because there is very genuinely a sense of this film, of the beginning and the end, where you have one movie happening that just takes a break to go see what Art the Clown is doing and then comes back to the plot before the last half of this film, which genuinely feels like a sequel to Terrifier 2. But again, that's speculation on my part. But if my understanding of the creative process holds any weight whatsoever, I would think that this film project, which Damien Leone was passionate about, died. He would want to save, at the very least, the spirit of it in order to add it to something like Terrifier.
I also get that suspicion that, he had the surprise hit with Terrifier 1, has a chance to do Terrifier 2. A lot of surprises, again, in the amount of interest and the backing, specifically the Indiegogo excitement and perhaps other investors that we don't know about. And thought, I gotta put everything I have into this. That's why the runtime's so fucking long. It doesn't explain the Clown Cafe to me at all, but so I think that explains a hell of a lot of it. Aside from, having these ideas you don't want to let go. If you've watched them die in the water, you want to breathe new life into them. So this is yet another aspect of rebirth, because we can find so much metaphor laced into this film. It's a little bit nutty.
Yeah, I mean, and I know some of my creative projects that I needed to focus on, I would end up adding those elements to stories like Teresa or Aurora that actually got off the ground and were made. And I just took, like, if anybody reads my comic book Teresa, if you want to know why there's a fucking flying whale in the desert called Clyde, that's from a whole other thing that I was like, fuck it, I want Clyde the Dream Whale to be a thing. So I put Clyde the Dream Whale in that. It's like not drug related at all. There was a point to that character. But when we start Terrifier 2, we are going to, I hope you did watch Terrifier 1, because we are going to start right where Terrifier 1 ended. And this is going to kind of jumble the timeline here, because Terrifier 1 came out in 2016. They say that these murders occurred in 2017, and it's been about a year since then. And so technically speaking, a film that was coming out in 2022 takes place in 2018. These are details that aren't overly important, but they're weird things that I tend to fixate on when I'm watching a film like this. But we are going to get confirmation. What we had suspected is that Art the Clown had killed the coroner, who wasn't eating a sandwich but was very shortly going to. And we are going to get a first of what is going to be many gory kills, and we're going to see an elevation in not only production value, but the craft of the makeup is going to also improve. The kills are going to look a little better. Everything just looks a little better. I'm not saying that this looks like the highest budgeted film. It was only $250,000, which today in this day and age is virtually nothing. And so you are going to see an instant jump and the less gritty quality. Everything's just lit a little bit better. Everything's just a little sharper, and everything's a little bit more goopy. And you get the sense that we are in for a far more intense ride, because one of the things about Terrifier, and like the Human Centipede kind of fell into this, Saw kind of fell into this, where you are basically in competition with yourself, because you
Yeah.
need to top what you were doing beforehand, but you already vertically sawed a woman in half very graphically, ass first. So how do you top that?
Well, let me count the ways. We have some very graphic deaths to come, but I was so pleased that this started out on the same night, because upon watching the first Terrifier, it was like, fingers crossed, I hope that there is a sequel, and I hope it just picks up right here. That's what I want for the Rise of Leslie Vernon as well. It ends in a coroner's office, basically, not with the same gory details or any really overtly supernatural happenings, but if there was another Behind the Mask, I want it to start that fucking night with that corpse rising from the gurney. That's what I wanted. That's what we got. I was so happy. We sort of changed, maybe they have access to more film lenses. Of course, they have a lot more access to space and dollies and all sorts of other filmmaking accoutrements. They can rent so much more equipment, or have bought so much more equipment. So yeah, the production value is greatly increased with this one, which was the producer's hope. That was his hope and dream. That's all he wanted to do. Better effects, more everything. And it doesn't, at the beginning, of course, change the mood, the tone, the feeling. We have the same sort of like color treatment, which we do revert back to later on in the film. But then the colors kind of come in when we meet Sienna. And if the movie would have started with the upbeat electronic music and a girl working hard on something, not unlike Dream Warriors 3, when we're building a popsicle house, we have Sienna in maker mode creating her cosplay outfit. And if it would have started there, I would have just been like, oh, I'm so let down. I'm so let down, because we didn't start on that gritty grindhouse mortuary night on Halloween, where you've got the murderer in on the slab and then he comes to life. I like that he does some sort of slapsticky fun stuff with playing with the eyeball, but it's not as bright and lighthearted and goony as a clown playing with a fake eyeball. It's a real murderer playing with a victim's eyeball. And they do pull that grittiness off so very well, even though we have a tonal shift very quickly to meeting a brother and sister duo who will carry us through the rest of the film.
I think that it's a bit of a nod to people who were more familiar with Terrifier already, who wanted to feel as though there was a little bit of a wink and a nod to you as a viewer, like, oh, ho, ho, I already know what is happening here. Whereas I suppose anyone who had started watching this film without having ever seen Terrifier 1, it might feel a bit like you are entering the theater after the movie had started, clutching into the darkness for your seat. Like, whoa, what's happening? You're disoriented. Whereas this allows you to sort of be in on the plot line from the jump, which is a nice technique. Another nice technique thing, which is going to answer at least one question: how the holy fuck does Art the Clown come back from all this? He's covered in blood. He looks completely destroyed. Let's just have him do his laundry. Isn't that fucking hysterical? Have we ever seen a slasher do their laundry? Like, I'm dirty and covered in blood. I need to do my laundry. No, we've never seen that before. And so he does, and this is where we're going to be introduced into the first sort of new addition to the psycho fuck family, which is the pale girl, who's going to make her debut by shitting on the floor. And I think that how do you top Reagan in The Exorcist? She peed. Well, what if you poo? That tops it.
I really think that this is more of an afterbirth, because this is the birth of the pale girl, so to speak. And we do have a mirror of this if we're talking metaphor and such for birth and rebirth and death and all that. She does conduct a rebirth much later on in the film, with a lot of the same sort of viscous goo. And, you know, yeah, it could be just plain old diarrhea, but it's got a real feeling to me of stillborn afterbirth. Uh, just color wise, and the viscosity of the fluid and the chunkiness therein, and it just, I don't know, maybe her demonic glee, which, you know, her sort of welcoming herself into the world. A very strange little demon that we don't know really a lot about, except that she is oh so cute. So cute. I love her little face and her little teeths, and how much she looks like her pal, Art the Clown. This was in the trailers, some of this, and I really like this, and I looked forward to seeing this so much, because it may not be a pizza parlor, but it's somewhere where you find yourself, probably as a city dweller, once or twice in your life, late night laundromat, and you kind of like looking beside you, head on a swivel, kind of like, who the fuck's in here at 11 o'clock at night doing their laundry? It's this fucking guy. There is someone sitting in the laundromat, and we get another one of our gruesome kills, because he saw Art the Clown playing patty cake with nobody. So we have this idea that the pale girl is a figment of Art's imagination, an idea that gets played with later on, but as it stands, we think Art's really lost his marbles.
Yeah, it could very well be that fact. And again, we're still ambiguous about the supernatural nature of Art the Clown. Was he supernatural in Terrifier 1? Did he become supernatural by the end? What does the pale girl have to do with this? What does she represent? Is she a figment of his imagination? I mean, all signs point to no by the end of the film, but I think that right now we're still in this realm of ambiguity. And then once we're done with that and we get our title treatment, I hope you liked your Art the Clown, because we're not going back there for a while. We are going to, well, I suppose we are, but we are going to be introduced to Miss Sienna Shaw, somebody making their Halloween costume with the fervency and skill of somebody who seems like they're probably a cosplayer, like who do that very seriously. She's working with airbrushing, and she's working with foam, and she knows what she's doing, and everything is handmade. And we're listening to this vibey, almost lo-fi hip-hop girl beats while she's doing this. Her room is very tranquil looking, and she's constructing this Valkyrie character that we'll learn is a character that her father had created, and she is doing it as a bit of an homage to him. And we're going to be introduced to her mother and her brother Jonathan, who has a serial killer obsession with Art the Clown, and so much so that he wants to be the clown for Halloween, which is just tomorrow.
I like that the mom, Barbara, they're coming to get you, Barbara, which she's even watching on TV, which is hilarious to me. But she is a mom's mom. She, you know, is friends with her kids to a certain degree, but she puts down that disciplinary hammer, like on a total hair, right? Like she's a hair trigger mom. Any minute she could be yelling at you to clean up or go to your room or put your bowl in the sink or whatever. You know, it's great. She does a really good job of that. I like that Sienna sort of entertains his serial killer fixation, which I hope that most people I knew as a youth entertained my serial killer fixation. She makes a little hat for his Art the Clown outfit that he's going to apparently wear. I really like that she does entertain it to begin with. Later on, this fixation becomes a little bit of a pain point. And I think that the mom starts to believe that Sienna's worry that her brother is going a little bit into the deep end on the serial killer fixation, especially the Miles County massacre, the Miles County killer clown, is dangerous. Even though she does make him the little hat for his outfit.
It's one of those things where Sienna is approaching her mother Barb basically spends the film either trying to be a tender, loving mother and like losing her shit at them, oftentimes in the same scene, where you can tell that she's trying, but she's just like so fed up and confused and on the ropes because she's doing this by herself now. Their father had died recently, and you know, Sienna is basically saying, which to me seems not abnormal. Like, he's so obsessed with serial killers. I was like, didn't everybody isn't this kind of like natural for a kid? Like, you become interested in serial killers for a little bit and you read up about them, and I did, and I know you did, and I think a lot of people do, just because you hear about them and you want to know. It's kind of like, for a little while I was really obsessed with Egypt lore. I wanted to like learn about like Egyptian mythology, and I was really interested in that. For there's a part in my life where I was really interested in Garfield the cat. So like I just feel like kids just are sponges for knowledge, and if you hear enough about something, and this was something that was fairly recent. Sienna does have a point about dressing up as Art the Clown for Halloween because it's a real guy who committed real crimes and real people died, and it's kind of uncouth, particularly you're from the area and this was so recent.
Yeah.
It kind of would be lost on a child, and Jonathan is supposed to be 12. I don't really think it's cause for concern for him to be egocentric, because little kids are, and they don't think about other people's feelings necessarily. They're just interested in it, and they think it's an idea that they can do, and they don't really think about the victims of these crimes. I don't think it's anything to be concerned with, but Sienna and her mother do. And Sienna does eventually acquiesce to Jonathan and help him with his costume. But I mean, it's a real sore point, and it's going to get even worse because just that night, as she's falling asleep to the house on Haunted Hill, like, we're just trying to get on all of the public domain horror films that we can possibly get into this movie. We are going to have, like, later on in the movie, they're like watching Vampira. Yeah. They're going to she's going to have a dream sequence. This really, in my opinion, marks a stark departure from the first Terrifier when we enter the Clown Cafe. This is like a weird commercial that Sienna saw a portion of as she went to sleep, and then this becomes an extended dream sequence in which she is dreaming about Art the Clown at the Clown Cafe, and Art the Clown shows up and he begins to murder, like with a Tommy gun, like shoot everybody like he's a Looney Tunes character, and light up the singing clown and all this kind of stuff. It's surreal.
It is. And you had said something to the tune of, here's your Art the Clown, hope you enjoyed it because you're not going to see him for a little while. It's almost like he doesn't count in this. He's a big part of the Clown Cafe scene, don't get me wrong, and it is colorful, and I really enjoy this scene of Art the Clown. He has a lot of fun, a lot of Art the Clown level fun, but it isn't the gritty murderer one-on-one Art the Clown. It's a dream sequence Art the Clown, so he gets away with all sorts of crazy Freddy Krueger post middle of Dream Warriors sort of shit, Bugs Bunny, Freddy Krueger bullshit. And this commercial is sort of surreal because we see it happening on the television as she's falling asleep. We don't know if it's really happening. Like in Necromantia, a movie we covered a long time ago, there's some very murderous self-harm commercials that play on TV, and that's where I thought we were going to go. But instead we go to the big comfy couch, and we go with someone that looks like almost like Punky Brewster kind of dressed up, and banjo playing music of this really cute catchy song that I do hum along with myself, not gonna lie. And it is so out of step with what we want or need maybe from Art the Clown. I get that there's a lot of people that love this, that this is their Art the Clown, this is their scary clown thing, this is their clown run amok, because the Clown Cafe is a place where the food is a little funny, and it's sort of like a food truck kind of thing, like a kids show playground food truck is sort of the setting. And if it were a show, that would be a really cool little premise, where a bunch of clowns at this food truck called the Clown Cafe, and they have on other special guest clowns like Art the Clown. So the little banjo singer and all the mostly adult people that are hanging out dressed as clowns or clownish type people that are sitting on swing sets and stuff singing along with the Clown Cafe song are all in anticipation of the special guest that is Art the Clown, what he is supposed to be bringing to the show other than a submachine gun, we don't really know, because that's really where it starts, being Art the Clowny. He shows up, Sienna's there. Sienna's dressed up as a clown with weird pigtails, and she finds herself in this dream like, oh my god, what am I doing in this dream? Very much Freddy Krueger-y, where the person having the dream knows that they're in a dream, it seems, because it is so surreal to them. And they're trapped, and they are the only person that has the wherewithal to try to escape. And he starts shooting up the place, and she ends up getting shot in this. Most people get shot to death, and those that didn't get shot to death get flamethrowered, because he has, I don't know what sort of flamethrower is that. It looks like a massive Zippo. Is this a commercial flamethrower that's used in filmmaking?
It's specifically a flamethrower that I've only ever seen in cartoons. It is like, this is leaning heavily into the cartoon character. He's pulling out a Tommy gun like he's Bugs Bunny. He has like a like the little flamethrower. He may as well have pulled out like a little seltzer bottle and like squirted it in your face. Like, it is, we are in Looney Tune land. And I think that is very much supposed to be the idea. And in a weird way, it's kind of having your cake and eating it too. You write this scene so you can have silly, slappy Art the Clown that's on lunchboxes and t-shirts that you buy toys of. And this is what the audience is expecting. But you don't want to compromise the character, so let's just make it a dream sequence. Sienna has made this up in her mind, and this is not actually happening. And so you get to kind of play with the audience's expectations, because I could almost guarantee you this version of Art the Clown would have been what many people were expecting based off of the memes and the merchandise.
That makes a lot of sense, because if you're, if you were taking this at face value, and this is real life, where this massacre, this murder had happened, and the only known perpetrator of it, whose body is now missing from the morgue, mind you, a year later, is a clown, described as a clown, you might fall asleep thinking, like, why did he choose clown? And you have this fantastical Looney Tunes dream. And it really is. They really do dial in the kids show, though, specifically like that Canadian TVO kids kind of feel to this, like the way that they've color treated everything. It's very, very colorful, and the set is a believable kids show set. They really did spend a lot of time and money creating this clown cafe scene. I don't like it personally. I really feel that you could cut out most of this and, like, have her falling asleep, have it look like a kid's show with a bunch of clowns for whatever reason, and have them just pull out a flamethrower and have them blast the screen or the viewer, Sienna, I guess, as the dreamer, with this, and she wakes up to her bedroom on fire. Because that's where we end up. Aside from all of this setting people on fire, shooting people with Tommy guns, and just horrific death of people dressed sort of like kids or clowns, and there's some kids in this scene as well. She wakes up to her bedroom on fire. The wings that she had worked so hard on, huge Valkyrie wings, bigger than most of the wings you see at any party store or typically on Halloween. I've owned a couple sets of wings myself. I've had black ones and white ones, and nice ones and plain ones and cheap ones and fairly pricey ones, but nothing quite that big. They were massive wings. They weren't articulated or anything really crazy, cosplay level, award-winning wings, but they were big, and now they're on fire.
It's a shame because, she spent so much time on that, and, my partner is a cosplayer, so I know how long these things take, and it's not cheap to make stuff like this. So it really is sad to see it go up, and she's really crestfallen. And it's also, she has to go to school, and she it's Halloween. Like, she does not have the time to remake this, but miraculously, you see, Lids, on her table amongst the candles, and I can imagine what her room smells like. It's like a lot of like perfumey, oily, scented candle. Like exactly this. I know exactly what that girl's room smells like, but probably smells horrible now because all those burnt feathers. But
Yeah.
but her sword, she has a Valkyrie, a gladius style sword that was her father's, that her father gave to her, that's razor sharp. You're going to want to remember that. It's razor sharp. It's a real sword, but that wasn't going to be part of her costume, but it was, again, part of this character that her father had envisioned for her that she wanted to be just like when she was growing up. And it's unscathed. It was bathed in the flames, but not a single tarnish on the entire thing, Lids. It is completely fine. Better than fine, in fact. So that's a positive. But she does go to school, and we're introduced to her friends Brooke and Allie, and Jonathan also goes to school, and we are introduced to his friend Dead Possum and Felissa Rose.
It's nice to see Felissa Rose as a little bit part in this as the I don't know, I guess principal. Is she the principal of the school?
She's got to be either the principal, because I also thought there was another teacher that was like a principal. I tried not to stare at that one. But Felissa Rose is good. She's got a good teacher voice, like an angry teacher voice. I was like, oh my god, like I'm going to the office.
Yeah, because it's these two little boyfriends of Jonathan's that are like, hey, come and see this dead possum we found behind the dumpster. Let's trick girls into come and see it. Hey girls, there's a cat that gave a bunch of kittens behind the dumpster. Come and see. Which is just so very, 7th grade, and it's hilarious.
It's like reminds me of like those commercials from the 90s, like scare your sister, and it's like a little rubber spider. Something like
Yeah, that's the level of hilarity and hijinks that they're getting up to here. But of course, they don't really get in too much trouble. Jonathan's in class later. He's having a bad time. And he asks for a hall pass. And he ends up in the hall to witness Art the Clown and the Pale Girl playing patty cake and the dead possum, with the dead possum between them, basically. They're sitting there having a fun time in the hallway with this dead possum. And as soon as he comes around the corner and encounters them, they look up. So they all see each other. He sees both of them. They see him. It's very apparent that the Pale Girl exists, ? But that Jonathan can see her and Art and the possum, which they throw at him, and he goes running, covered in blood. So now this is I really feel for Jonathan as a character at this point, because he is, being questioned about his affinity for serial killers and the macabre and death and all that stuff. And now he's playing with dead animals. Like, how does that fucking sound? How Dahmer does that sound? When he goes home, he gets sent home. His mom is furious with him because he's been playing with dead things in the school. Like, yeah. They're a troubled family to begin with, because they're still dealing with the fallout of the death of their father, Barb's husband, who went a little mad before he died at that. So, I can't imagine the mom just wanting to protect her family and her son, who could have a healthy interest in the macabre. However, he's brought a dead animal into the school to hear everyone else tell it, to hear Jonathan tell it. What's he going to say? I saw a vision of Art the Clown, or the clown. I guess they don't really know his name is Art, do they?
They do, because one of the newspaper articles is like, who is Art the Clown? Because he did write his name on the bathroom stall, and not the bathroom stall. Well, he wrote his name in the pizzeria, but that got cleaned up. But he wrote his name in the coroner's office as well.
Yes, he did.
This dead possum thing couldn't have come at a worse time, because Sienna had literally made a comment about, well, if he starts playing with dead animals, like, I'll say I told you so, basically. So this is like everything that Sienna and her mother were worried about, less so their mother up until this point, realized, and it's coming true. This this sequence with the Pale Girl and Art the Clown and Jonathan and the dream sequence, this is one of the things that I'm sure will be explained later. And I understand that they are laying groundwork and I don't need everything spelled out to me. I really do not like this aspect of this film. I do not like this notion that Art the Clown is fated to encounter these people. Why are they in the school? Why can Jonathan see the Pale Girl when that dude at the laundromat couldn't? Why is Art the Clown invading Sienna's dreams? Why did he just so inextricably happen to show up there? Is this something prophesized? We'll learn shortly that, you know, their father had all of these things written in an art book that they, Sienna and her mother, believed to be lost, but I suppose Jonathan had taken it for himself, and this fed into his fixation about Art the Clown, because all of these sequences, and you can compare them, the murder photos available online from the first film versus the pictures that his father drew and what Jonathan knows, these are all in it. But like, it's just not good enough. Like, one of the things that I like about the first Terrifier film is like they just crossed paths because Art was out and they were out.
Yes.
I liked that. And I would like this film far more. You can keep everything else, but like to have him effectively haunting them, like before they make their encounter at Abracadabra officially, it's weird to me because I don't get it. I just don't get it. And I don't think that there's a satisfying enough explanation for it. And frankly, even if there was a satisfying explanation for it, I don't like it. I want it to be a random encounter, just like the first film.
That sums up my sentiments about this fairly well as well, because like, is he amassing people? He wants to turn them into whatever it is he is. Maybe that would make some sense, but that's not the point of it, and that's not what we've gathered so far. And I liked the random nature, the unstoppable killing machine of Art the Clown, and I liked him not having a little pale girl friend too, to be honest. I liked him being a lone shark swimming through the depths. But
Waters down the brand.
yeah, it does. As much as I like her on her own, the Pale Girl, how cute she is, and I like the idea of them playing patty cake in the hallway with a dead possum, disconnected from this larger story. As much as I like the visuals too, as of Abracadabra, the store, with Art encountering Sienna in there, I don't like it within the context of the story. It's like all of these ideas, and you do this when you're writing often too. You're like, okay, I got this idea. Here's the point A, B, C, and A, the beginning, B, something in the plot that links it to C, and it all makes sense. But I want to have the scene where he paints the whole room black, so I got to put that in there. And I want to have the scene where he goes and has coffee with the neighbors and finds out that he's being drugged. Got to put that in there. So I got to like shoehorn this shit in. And I also want that scene of him screaming at a treetop. Like, how am I going to fit that in there? Like, that's that sort of thing. You're writing down all these beats you want in the story, but they don't really fit. So you got to kind of like shove them in there. There's maybe one too many of those happening with this film.
Yeah, like I said, like a lot of this stuff could be cut. But again, maybe he just genuinely believed that he was responding to the idea that there was not enough story. The thing that is nice about the stuff with Jonathan and Sienna is I like these characters. I like these actors. I think they're very charming to watch. I like the sequences where they are. I just want the connection. You're trying to do too much. Like, again, it's my old metaphor of the Charlie Brown Christmas tree. You have a little skinny tree that cannot bear a lot of weight, and you try to put this big gigantic bulb on the top of it. It's gonna just fall over. You don't have the foundational stuff to work with in this film, and a lot of this film really does seem like you're building the plane while it's in the air, and I don't really think they know where they're going with it. I genuinely don't think. I genuinely think, like you said, he just had a lot of ideas. Just what do people like? What do people respond to? What's the next meme? And we'll go with that. And again, it doesn't necessarily ruin anything to me. But when Sienna and her friend Allie make it to Abracadabra, because Sienna needs to get angel wings, and she laments the fact that she had spent all this time, and then she ends up having to go to a party store and buying these wings that anyone in a costume shop could buy, cheap little things. Her friend points out rightfully, those wings you made were too big. They were going to knock over people's drinks and stuff like that, which is a valid comment. And so now she has the cutesy little angel wings. Her outfit looks great. She's going to be cool. So it's going to be fine. And we are going to get the first real encounter. We know this person is real because this abracadabra sequence, I'm not even trying to be a dick. The movie could have started here. Like, couldn't it have? Like, the movie could have just started right here, because it has the vibes of the pizzeria, where just two people are going in here to do some last minute costume shopping, and they encounter Art the Clown, because Allie just literally bumps into him. And then Art the Clown has what is one of my favorite sequences in this whole abracadabra sequence. I fucking adore. I love Art the Clown in this scene. I love Sienna. She's so good. This actress, oh God, what's her name? Lauren Lavera. She's so good in this role, and him just like fucking with her, but also being kind of nice, gives her purse so she can make her purchases and stuff like that. And just slowly bringing that horn up. She's like, please don't. He just starts honking it.
Right in her ear. Like, after manhandling things, like he's annoying her and the shopkeeper, because he's like keeps trying on these glasses, and that's where you get the sunflower glasses that everyone loves so much, and it has become iconic Art the Clown. But he has like a noisemaker, like a party noisemaker from New Year's, and the shopkeeper's like, if you're gonna put that in your mouth, you have to buy it, and he just sort of spits it out. And it's just hilarious childishness. He does have that menacingness, because earlier when she's downstairs or in a back room to find these angel wings, Sienna encounters him, and he's just leaning up against the wall, but he stays perfectly still, almost like a clown from Hell House or something, and she just sort of inches past him, like with that tension that we think he's gonna like suddenly jump forward and do something. We kind of hope he does, but we also know that this is Art the Clown we're dealing with. He's probably just gonna stand there, and he does, and she inches past him. So we start out with that tension, and then have all those semi-tension breaking things that he does, like he does in the pizzeria, and it's great fun. And we get to see him being super expressive, super stone cold, taking all of his shenanigans very, very seriously. We know it's going to end with a bad time for somebody, because this is Art the Clown we're dealing with, but Sienna survives. She gets out of this encounter relatively unscathed, except that she's telling her friend Allie later, like, it was him, it was Art the Clown, right down to the little dot on his nose, which is weird because I don't remember him having a dot on his nose in the previous film. But
me either, actually.
maybe.
But you might be right. I just might be misremembering it. But we do get our first, like, I suppose, kill in this portion of the film. That's not a dream sequence. That is not, I suppose that's not true, because the coroner died and the guy but let's say in this year, in the canonical year that this is happening, Art the Clown kills the shopkeeper. He does a good job of acting like really in pain when he gets that bottle in his eye. Very graphic, very cool. Also, it's nice to know that this abracadabra place is a real place, because you get a sense about how much things cost. $8.99 for that little horn. So, you know, if you're in the market for a clown horn gang, $8.99 at Abracadabra, head there now. Run, don't walk. And
they also have the little sunflower glasses as well. I believe they're $13.99.
Wow, that's crazy. Also, it's so funny the things that people catch on to, because not only are these not the only glasses that he puts on in this scene, he literally is wearing those glasses for 2 seconds. 2 seconds. And that's the fascinating nature. Like, I know people don't like the fact that I get really very interested in how things become marketed and how people make money off of things. Maybe it's like my capitalist brain, but I find that fascinating, because you could buy a mug that's just Art the Clown and those things. All of this Art the Clown merchandise, he's wearing those glasses. But if you look at the film, it's not anything. Why is it those glasses and not the googly eyes? Why is it those glasses and not the hands one? Why? Like, and so those are the types of boring ass questions that keep me, West Dead or Knipe, up at night. But so when we are done with this sequence, we get a nice gory set piece, a nice decapitation. It looks great. And really, really, you get a good sense about how good these special effects are getting and just how much more time and money they have to do them. Ali does convince Sienna that, lots of people are going to be dressing up like Art the Clown. Your brother was even going to be dressing up like Art the Clown. Don't worry. Don't waste your time. And we got a party to go to later. And Ali is going to be a point of discussion because she is the new dawn. Let's say this is leading to Ali being alone at her home, handing out candy for trick-or-treating. She is going to encounter Art the Clown again, telling him, you're too old to be trick-or-treating. First of all, I hear the opposite of that these days because people are so desperate for trick-or-treaters, especially like new young homeowners. They're basically just saying like, I don't care. Come to my house in a costume, I will give you candy. But Ali's old school. You need to be a child because this candy is for children. And she's going to shoo him away. And anyone that shoos Art the Clown away is going to pay. And she gets paid. She pays for it in the most graphic way humanly possible. What do you got to say?
She really does. And this is the new dawn, the new set piece. This is, gory as shit and harrowing and kind of hard to watch, mostly because of her performance. Not because it's not, if you've seen a lot of really extreme horror films, it's something you've not seen before. I like a good scalping. One of my favorite things is bolt cutters to a spine. I like a lot of these exercises in special effects. So this is an exercise in special effects like you've not seen in quite some time. And it goes on for quite a while. It's 2 minutes of him stabbing, skinning, torturing this young girl, and she is acting it to within an inch of her life. No pun intended, because she is screaming and trying to get away, and it's harrowing. It's done so fucking well. In a lot of the outtakes and the special features and stuff, and in interviews when they show outtakes from those special features and behind the scenes footage, Thornton is not wearing his Art the Clown makeup. He has his Art the Clown outfit for any of the hands-on things. There's a whole lot of, it is special effects. You can tell when they switch to a latex dummy and they're doing a lot of stabby. For those scenes and a lot of those, he is in full makeup because that's not hands-on an actress work. But for almost, I'd have to say 90% of this, let's say 2 minutes, because that 2 minutes is a long fucking time on screen. It's a long time on the page, right? Because you're looking at about a minute, 30 seconds to a minute per page of screenwriting. This is several pages of direction here. And for him to have done the things that he's done, I wonder, and this would be I don't usually have panel questions in my mind for directors, writers, or producers or whatever, but I do have this one question of, was it just a mask-free day for Thornton when they did this to give his skin a break? Or was that, I think, a way to take the terror level down so the actress could focus on her own reactions and not get too lost in the moment of having a literally nightmarish person inflicting these terrible things to you? Because it is a very physical scene. And we've already seen David Thornton being a very physical actor. These actresses that he's paired with are very fit and physical women as well. So having that interplay, I could see that taking a lot of focus and not wanting to take away from it by literally scaring somebody who's worked themselves up to a point of visceral terror that is sold to us on the screen. We believe that she's in terror. She does so fucking well. I love this scene. This is Casey Hartnett. I had looked to see if she's related to Josh Hartnett. I don't think they are. Apparently they're not, but I'm not 100% on that. But man, is she good in this scene. And is it gory? And then it is so gory, in fact, that I'm like, how can you have sunflower glasses art on your lunch kit and fucking your little Terrifier socks with Mickey Mouse on one side and Donald Duck on the other and go toddling off to school being a fan of Art the Clown when this is Art the Clown?
I think that there is a disconnect, honestly. I don't really know. Like, because there are people who, for them, this version of Art the Clown is absolutely what they're looking for, and they're reveling in the counterculture aspect of it. They're reveling in the fact that people are squicked out. This goes to what I believe is really inherent in the horror community, if I could call it that, way that they express themselves, where it's everyone's like this, but I'm like this. And I think that sort of way that you sit in opposition to things is part of it. Now, when it's a little kid that wants an Art the Clown baby holding a candy bowl to hand out for Halloween, or like a little inflatable, or you want a little toy of him with the sunglasses that you could buy at Walmart, I just think those people haven't seen the movie. Honestly, truly, totally. It's like, it's just a striking visual, and they like it because it's a silly clown and it's a colorful toy, and they just like it. And they're at Spirit Halloween, and what are you at Spirit Halloween to do but buy things? So I
Yeah,
think it's just, it's that, really, honestly.
Is it edited versions of it as well? Because there are edited, the most popularized versions of the first movie didn't show a lot of the hacksaw scene. So are there, because I've not seen edited versions, because I don't know. I like horror that is not edited, but I'm sure it's the same problem or solution, depending on how you look at it, that there are heavily edited versions of this scene out there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've seen edited versions of the first Terrifier. As I said in the previous episode, the first version I ever saw, I didn't realize it was edited. I stopped it
Yeah.
midway through when I realized it, and I went back and I watched it properly. But I mean, honestly, for me, I just couldn't say. This again is one of the questions that keeps me up at night about how does this become popular. This is saying something about us now as this film becomes popular, because we won't get into Terrifier 3 until we cover that film. But the only thing that Terrifier 3 does differently is make even more fucking money. It keeps going up. So this is
Yes.
people are responding to this for a reason. What's that reason? It's too early to tell. We need smart people with letters after their names to tell us about this in 10 years, right? We'll need Amy to write a book. We'll need
Paging Dr. Vosper.
yeah, we'll need, somebody like that. But right now, this is speaking to people, and they're willing to brush it off or again revel in it. Why? What is this? Is it just like, it's so extreme, it's so outrageous? Like, to see this woman's arm like broken back and forth like a chicken bone and pulled off, to see the hand split. Like, again, it's not like this is the first time we've seen these types of things in a horror film, but this is the first time that a horror film has made this much money, has this much merchandise, and your fucking grandma knows who Art the Clown is. That's why this is significant, not any other reason. But Allie does bite the big one, and her mother is not long for this world either. Thankfully, she doesn't have to. Art keeps this again, teenage girl alive long enough as he possibly could. I had watched a funny TikTok video of a doctor analyzing this sequence.
Oh.
And saying saying she would have been dead so much earlier, because he's like, unless Art is secretly giving her blood transfusions, there's just no way that this woman could be alive even halfway through the second. He gets the salt, the bleach, like it's cartoonish. Like, again, it's like that Bugs Bunny pulling out the Tommy gun. It's just he just comes in like, ha 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 ha, I have more stuff.
Oh yes, sorry, the 2 minutes that I said that this scene takes did not include the animatronic version. Yeah, so this is like fucking 3 or 4 minutes of torture. real torture.
Absolutely. And, you know, Allie definitely didn't deserve it, but, you know, Art the Clown then gives out trick-or-treats in Allie's mother's head, and all is right with the world. Jonathan, on the other hand, is going to have this encounter with his mother, and they are going to get into an argument about Art the Clown, about this art book that their father kept, and about how Jonathan is convinced that Art the Clown is somebody that their sister is going to defeat, that is going to give her a way to stop him. And, you know, they do delve a little bit to Sienna not being very sure of herself, not feeling very brave. She does have a panic attack just with the description of the news lady. We saw, you know, like there was a sequence that happens where the interview that Victoria has at the beginning of Terrifier 1 is taking place like the previous day, the same day as Sienna having that nightmare. And so again, all of this interwoven timeline of these films is occurring. But Jonathan and their mother are going to get into a huge argument. She's going to rip up that art book, and she's going to slap Jonathan in the face because she's just at her wit's end. He calls her a bitch. He goes scampering off into the wilderness. And meanwhile, Sienna is going to get into her Valkyrie outfit, and it looks very cool. Very like this image has become a big point for a lot of cosplayers. I see people dressing up as this character all the time. Photos from conventions, Halloween. People love dressing up as Sienna Shaw in the Valkyrie outfit. The makeup is really cool, and she's ready to go to this party. This party is weird. We had a long discussion about this before we even started recording, because my question was, how fucking old is Sienna supposed to be? Now, when Sienna comes downstairs, her mother is aghast at her costume. It's very revealing for a young woman to be wearing, particularly if the internet is to be believed. Sienna's supposed to be 17 years old. And so I'm wildly inappropriate. And I'm not even a puritanical sort, but I'm just like, I don't know about that one, gang. And she goes to a bar, but is taking shots and drinking booze. But that ain't how it works in the United States.
Exactly. And it has some sort of cash bar. It doesn't seem to be like a rave or a speakeasy. And a speakeasy would be like one of the better culprits for underage drinking at a Halloween party. Like there is dancing and music and drugs, we find out. So it's got to be some sort of underage's party. It doesn't seem to be on a private location though. Like it looks a little more industrial or something, and large and downtown. I don't think it's a house. It could be a warehouse, but it's not really clear as to what sort of party this is, which is annoying to say the least, especially when you're trying to put two and two together. Like a 12-year-old brother, a 17-year-old girl, her mom is concerned about the revealing nature of her outfit, which I would disagree that it's revealing necessarily. I think it's a lot less revealing than most bikini swimsuits that women much younger than 17 wear in public on a regular basis. So it's not all bad. And I do like that it keeps everything pretty contained. In the behind the scenes stuff, that was not the case. It was double-sided taped and gaffer taped and hot glued and actually glued, and it was falling apart. And like, because wear and tear, she does a lot of physicality later on in the film wearing this goddamn outfit, so I could see it falling fucking apart, because foam and hot glue is not meant to run a marathon. But, you know, I don't know, I think it looks pretty great. I think she looks covered enough.
Well, at any rate, wherever she is and she's getting liquored up, her friend Brooke, they're waiting for Allie. Brooke is a weird friend. She's very hot and cold. Sometimes she's nice, sometimes she's not. But she does spike Sienna's drink with Molly. And
Is that nice or not nice
that's not
to give
nice.
MDMA to your friend without their permission?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's not
right.
nice. That's very not nice. And the only reason why like Sienna seems okay with it when she finds out is probably because she's high on Molly. And she's like, oh man, I'm partying. I love this bar sequence. I love the dance sequence. Sienna looks great. I love the colors, the purple, the lighting. I love just like the party atmosphere, and it really does like lean into the Halloween aspect of this, and this kind of comes into really fun territory. Basically, I like once this movie kind of just becomes Sienna at the bar, and then her and her friends are going to go to the Terrifier funhouse. I love this movie. I love every frame of this movie. The sequences are so fucking cool. It looks great. But before we get there, we are going to have Jonathan's mother, Barb, lose her shit because she believes that Jonathan has shaving creamed and TP'd and smashed a pumpkin and wrote bitch on the front of her car in the garage. There was some conversation about her being worried about the car because there had been people previously who had fucked with it. She's convinced that it's her son. She calls Sienna, who is talking to her. Sienna does get a very touching moment in which she gets to say, like, I love you, and like, I don't say it enough. And after they have a mild argument, this seems to be really the dynamic of the family in which like tender moments and arguments are interwoven with each other and people just like turn on a dime. Maybe that's why she's friends with Brooke, because it's not weird to be a colossal asshole to your friend and then be nice and be supportive and then, oh, don't worry, she's going to go back to being an asshole soon. I was watching this with my partner and they were asking me, they're like, does Sienna's mom live in this movie? I was like, no. and sure enough, like 2 seconds later, she gets what is this, like a blunderbuss? Like he's got like this weird little, it looks like a Derringer, except like also a sawed-off shotgun at the same time. And he's upgraded from the regular Glock that he was using in the first movie. And he shoots the mom in the mush, and her head just, it's like a head explosion worthy of Maniac or The Prowler. It's that level of head explosion. At least she wasn't tortured. And eventually, Jonathan is going to make his way back to the house and have his own encounter with Art the Clown. Sienna is seeing the pale girl. She's freaked out, but the drugs are taking their toll. And now she's like also having a freak out moment at the same time as her brother is encountering his hero, Art the Clown.
His hero, Art the Clown. My God, they always say never meet your heroes, and maybe this is why, because they will drug you. In amongst all of Art's bag of tricks, he also has, I don't, he has a jar of acid somewhere, right? Like, see, he's got all kinds of shit. He has a horse tranquilizer, I suppose, and drugs poor Jonathan, which is kind of terrifying. It keeps the story moving because very soon after, Sienna's phone rings and it's Jonathan saying, come and help me. I'm scared. I don't know how to get out of here. And she's like, where are you? And then we cut to Art the Clown and the pale girl in a van. Of course it's a van. A scary van. With passed out Jonathan, and the pale girl is imitating his voice. And I love the cartoonish fervor with which the young actress that plays the pale girl approaches this. I really like all of her things. As much as I'm not as keen on the pale girl being part of the story, I love, and I've said it already, like how much I love the way she looks. But when she's imitating Jonathan's voice, it's actually hilarious to me. So yeah, they lure Sienna and her friends to the fairgrounds where there is a ride called the Terrifier. And me, the first time watching this, I'm like, oh, Art the Clown's not the Terrifier, the place where he goes. And I was convinced that this is where he lives, right? So yeah, it's so nice. It's such a good little cap on the lore in a way. Like this is why it's named this. We get to find this out in the like third act of the second film. It's kind of like chef's kiss. I hate that saying because it's so overused, but it is a really nice point to this film that we get that sort of like closure almost on a little thing like the name of the fucking franchise.
Yeah, that reveal tells us that the whole time Art was not the Terrifier, it was the Terrifier's monster. Like it,
Pretty much.
yeah, it was like the Terrifier is the fun house, Art the clown is Terrifier's monster. But the this sequence is really great. I love this funhouse. It's so picturesque. It's so cool. I don't know why it shut down so early on Halloween. There's nobody around, or if it was abandoned for years. It's hard to
It was
say.
abandoned when the little girl was murdered. You see a
Mm,
glimpse of her, and I forget the actress's name, but it's the pale girl.
mm.
Was apparently one of Art's first victims. And this,
Emily Crane.
thank you, Emily Crane. This fairground has been shut down since.
Which again adds more lore to the entire proceedings. Now, we know during Sienna and Jonathan's last argument about their father and about him saying crazy stuff, that, you know, their father had a tumor. It would making him act erratic and irrational. We find out later from Brooke that he had become very abusive and cruel, almost particularly towards Sienna. Now, Sienna is wasting no time. She is going to go into this place looking for her brother while Jeff and Brooke do drugs. We're gonna get some penis trauma.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's not overly graphic
No,
though.
no, I've seen far worse penis trauma in my day. Just go look at Street Trash. That's a lot of penis trauma. But we are going to get Jeff eliminated toot sweet, and we're going to have Brooke get a pretty gruesome death herself. I'm surprised this one is not talked about at all. Really, like, is it because everything compared to Allie just pales in comparison? Is that why no other kill sequence gets talked about?
I'd have to say so, yeah. And it does happen later on in the film where, as much as we like the fairgrounds and the Halloweeny nature of all of this, and maybe a little bit more of a resurrected clown cafe, and the mermaid tank, and the getting stabbed, and the chase sequences within the fun house, like, oh, okay, I get why people forget about it because it gets all fucking confusing. I had to rewatch the end of this movie because often I think, not that I distract myself, I think my brain just sort of checks out at a certain point in this film, unfortunately, because of its convoluted nature near the end. It's not like it has a huge cast of characters. It's not like we're at odds with what the pale girl and Art are planning. Like we don't really know what they're planning. They're killing people. That's what we know. So it's not like it's at cross purposes to the plot necessarily. They're still doing what we expect them to do. Jonathan's fairly straightforward. What he's doing, he was drugged. He was brought here. He awakes. Him and his sister meet up and try and escape. You know, that sort, like, it's all very straightforward. But I think the setting confuses it in a way too. The
Yeah,
maze-like nature of it, the fact that there's a tank full of water alone, the pit to hell in the basement, like it just describing it is a lot.
yeah. I mean, we get the sense that this is Art the Clown's lair. He's like the fucking Joker. Like he's got
Mhm.
his like weird abandoned funhouse lair that he hangs around with, I suppose. But why bring why lure Sienna here? Why does it matter? Why not just kill Jonathan in his house like you've killed literally everybody? You didn't lure Tara and Dawn to your lair. You just killed them in the warehouse that they were at. You killed people that you encounter. You just kill people that you encounter that rub you the wrong way or don't rub you the wrong way. What's with the artifice? What's with the pageantry of this? If the only thing that he's into is just torture and prolonging the mayhem, that makes sense to me. But why bring her to the funhouse? Why bring all of them to the funhouse? What significance does this place have? And why are we not privy to it? Why does this make any sense? And again, this is going back to my thing where it's like, if this is not a random encounter, he's treating Jonathan different from from anybody else that he's killed so far in the movie because he wants Sienna and he treats her differently. What is the reason? If we're to believe that they are fated to meet, why still was the encounter not a little bit more random? Like, let's say, oh, my father psychically visioned because of this tumor that one day I would be attacked by this horrific clown thing. Why not make any steps to protect his wife? Why not make any specific steps to protect his son? Why lay it all on the feet of your young daughter? Like, you're gonna grow up to kill this clown. I don't get it. Like, I just don't. And again, like, you could say I'm thinking too much about it, but I'm sorry, you put it in the movie, so you want me to think about it, right?
Yeah. And it is that piling on of metaphor that is slightly annoying. You know, you could have started this whole movie at abracadabra and thrown in a couple lines to be like, oh, your brother's such a psycho. Oh, he's not so bad. He's just really fixated on serial killers. Yeah, but he had that dead possum. Well, that's up for debate, you know? End scene. And that establishes everything that's happened at the beginning, except the coroner's office, which I'd keep in. That's super cool. All right. And then start it there and take out a whole lot of the Sword of Destiny stuff, right? Because Art the Clown has handled the thing that is ultimately going to spell his demise as if it's nothing. Yet, he also treats Jonathan as the thing that will lead him to his comeuppance against the thing he thinks or knows is supposed to spell his demise, which is Sienna. Not the actual thing that does, which is the fucking Sword of Destiny or whatever it's called. I'm just calling it Sword of Destiny because there always is one, isn't there? So he delivers her the Sword of Destiny. Did he not have that as part of his own foresight? Or is this all the pale girl having some sort of demonic fun? Because this place is not as linked to Art the Clown, per se, as it is that he was randomly encountering people and killing them, as you so eloquently expelled out his resume for him. It's like I envisioned him sitting across from you going like, yes, Wes, yes, you're right, Wes. I'll do better next time, Wes. But yeah, the pale girl who died in this place, this is her death place. This is her pit of destiny. This is her magnet for all of this, you know, shit to go down using what is now her tool of fate, right? As Art the Clown.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to look at this in terms of, was Art the Clown just a normal man up until the point in which he blew his brains out in the first Terrifier film, and then he becomes Art the Clown, the indestructible demon? Because we're going to see that Art the Clown cannot be taken down by normal means anymore. And when he kills Jeff and then kills Brooke, and that acid that he took, he's been holding for a year. He's had that acid in his trash bag the whole time. He throws it in her face. He smashes her chest multiple times. She has a piece of wood. He has a piece of wood with implements in it, forks and knives and all kinds of stuff that he has concocted. And he smashes her chest multiple times until it caves in. And then he, again, going back to our cannibal version of Art the Clown, eats part of her heart for power in it and strength, I suppose. But he wants to steal her druggy ways. She is going to now encounter Sienna, who is going to put up a fight the likes of which we have not really seen. But Sienna is even one of the things I love about this sequence is that Sienna is going to get whipped. Like, he's going to get that cat of nine tails. And after Sienna is like severely, like, there's this cat and mouse game, and we're going through all of these beautiful animatronics and stuff. There is this sequence in which, you know, he is whipping Jonathan with a cat of nine tails, and Sienna like crawls her body over top of it, and it's like getting whipped and whipped. And then she like, it's actually kind of hysterical. Like, you clear that she's been whipped and in so much pain at this point that she gets fucking mad. And then she gets so mad, and there's this beautiful feathers everywhere, blah, blah. It looks really good. And then she just starts beating his ass. She takes his cat of nine tails away from him and starts whipping him and whipping him. And she's eventually going to hit him in the back of the head with his own implement into his skull, and then even get a larger bit of metal into his skull. It's not going to stop him. So this is what I think is going on. And Damian Leone, if you're listening, and I know you are, you can tell me if I'm right or not, but in the same sense that Art became this agent of the devil, let's say, we could just to have this ultimate showdown, being guided sort of haphazardly. Art the Clown is a free agent to a point, but he clearly is an agent of the Pale Girl. That's what I think. And who is a demon. The inverse of that is you need an agent of heaven, which is what Sienna is supposed to be, but she needs to die first to get that power. I think that this sword of destiny, and we see this in the underwater sequence, which it looks to be like a Harry Houdini type thing that she falls into. Like they make it very obvious. Like she falls into this pit and now it's like stone and red lighting. And I'm like, okay, so she's in hell. And now she's even in the lowest pit of hell, in which she is being held by this tentacle thing, and like red lightning imbues both the sword, closes a grievous wound that the sword had made. Art stabbed her in the gut with it, and so she was pretty much dead. I believe she drowns in that sequence and then is being reawakened, and now she is the equivalent to what Art the Clown is, but on the good side of it. It's very ineloquent, but that's what I'm getting at.
No, and that's exactly what it seems like. It's weird to me, though, that Art was the deliverer of the implement that spells his doom. Was it not that tool until it was imbued with her blood or something? Like, that's just too many levels of storytelling that doesn't have anything to back it up, unfortunately. It's fun, and I'm sure that there's people who are huge comic book fans that just take it as it's fed to them and just like, yeah, I don't care about the why or where. Like, the sword ended up there and she's back to life because the sword's there. That's why, And the answer is simple to some people who can take these leaps of faith in storytelling. And I can't, because I'm a fan of that sort of very literal, very grounded storytelling of the first film.
Yeah, I think that like all signs pointing to Sienna should be in her as being a superhero should start with her alliterative name: Sienna Shaw, Peter Parker, Bruce Banner. These are Wally West, Sienna Shaw. These are these are the points that you make in storytelling to let the person know that this is a protagonist, and this is going to be not just a final girl, but she's got a costume. She's got a weapon, a destined weapon. Now, Art the Clown, like delivering that weapon to her, the thing is she was always in possession of that. It was always hers. Now, I think that they just had no control over the magpie-like nature of Art the Clown, where he sees something sharp and cool. Whereas like this dude is a pack rat. He constantly is grabbing everything. He loots places to put in his garbage bag. The real question is, fuck the sword of destiny. This is a garbage bag of destiny. Why does it not rip? There's so many sharp things in it. It's a garbage bag.
I know. Even in the first one, he's got so many sharp things in it. And when he's trick-or-treating and he shows Allie what's in his bag accidentally, it's all these blood-covered implements. And yeah, there's a lot of sharp things in there, and jars of fucking acid.
Yeah, so, it's funny.
How did the jar of acid not break?
When we have our final girl rebirth sequence, we have Sienna with her outfit and her sword, and she's able to get to Art and beat him down. We have this like all of this sequence works for me. Maybe it is because I'm a comic book fan and I take it all as like, I get this. This is where the film stops getting in the way of its own lore. But I do agree that the underwater sequence, and we're back at the Clown Cafe, a lot of this is very weird. You could have just had her emerge from that thing, but the second that we're at the red lightning that's like sealing her wound and literally imbuing the sword, I'm like, we're in a whole other realm of, this is not vaguely supernatural. This is supernatural. This is fucking magic. This is like heavenly ordainment, and like this is angels versus demons type shit. And it's quite literally that, not even a metaphor of that. So
exactly,
when we get to this point, Art the Clown is down for the count, and this becomes a weapon that can, at the very least, seem to hurt him in a way that matters, and he is decapitated for his trouble, but not without, if you gotta go with a smile, to quote the joke again, the Joker. But he gets decapitated, and all is well with the world. Art the Clown, you were mean, and now you're dead.
Now, of course, it's not that simple, because if you're eagle-eyed, you're like, well, where did his head go? You don't have to remain eagle-eyed for long, because the pale girl shows up and picks up his head with a flash of yellow demon eyes. She walks into a darkened back room with the head in tow, and where she went, we'll never ever know.
Yeah, until they cut to, we're back with our old friend Victoria Hayes, and she is we have our nurse, we have Chris Jericho here for no reason. I like that a lot of these cameos are just like favor shots. The nurse is the Clown Cafe girl, and you get to learn that Victoria is writing on the wall with her own blood, and she's about to give birth to Art the Clown's head, and we get a reveal that she has the glowing yellow eyes, indicating, at the very least, she is officially not just a crazy lady that had her face eaten. I feel bad for her, but she is now a fully on possessed demon, which I understand carries into the third film.
It does. And I really like that we've brought it back to Victoria, because you see her here and there, and we do have a little bit of a callback to the first film where her interview is on the television and Art the Clown is watching it, or someone wearing clown shoes anyway, and they kick the TV screen in. He does that again because the pale girl is attentively watching the interview with Victoria, and Art the Clown kicks the screen in again. And I think it's kind of funny. So I'm glad that we get a lot more Victoria in this. Like, for as much as we want the original girls to be back in the film somehow, which is impossible, they're very, very dead. I'm glad that we have that touchstone back to the very beginning of it all in Victoria. And I like that we're relying a little bit on these post-credit sequences. It's always a fun Easter egg, and here it is definitely integral to understanding the plot as we go forward.
Yeah, I think that having Sienna and Jonathan survive the end of the film is a bit of a win for the audience that likes a little bit more straightforward formula. I think again, one of the criticisms that Damien Leone would have faced, I would assume, based on the crafting of this story, was, oh man, I like Tara so much and I kind of wanted her to win, or we were rooting for Victoria and she kind of no one really wins in Terrifier except for Art the Clown. Art the Clown is the person that wins in Terrifier. So can we have it so we have a good guy to root for? But it doesn't mean that Art the Clown has to lose, but can we also have a final girl? Because we like that trope. It's recognizable to us. If you make us a character to like, and Damien Leone has gone so far as to say that Sienna Shaw is the heart and soul of this Terrifier franchise. I don't know what he could mean by that, because the heart and soul is Art the Clown. That is what's putting asses in the seats. Although I'm glad that everybody likes the Sienna character. I like her too, and but this film, really the back half of it, I really, really like. And I really like the visuals, and it's rainy and it's dark and it's Halloween, and we watched it on a rainy, dark Halloween night to get ready for this film. And so it was really, really fun to really just dive into it. And this has become another Halloween staple for many fans of this franchise. They're like, I really gotta watch Terrifier 2, because it seems like it's more Halloween-y than even the first film, which takes place on Halloween.
I like them both together, right? And they do work so well together, not only just because of that bridging sequence with the morgue, the mortician, or the whatever you call them, What is he called?
I'd be the coroner.
Coroner, thank you. That's the word. Not only because of that bridging scene with the coroner at the beginning, it is a good continuation, and it does feed some more lore. So for all of my speaking down about things like the Clown Cafe and the Pale Girl, and just too many weird little threads that aren't worth pulling within this storyline, I like the way that they fit together. It makes me excited for you to see Terrifier 3 because you have not yet, and holy shit, it's fun. It's got a lot more of the tone of this second one, I will say, and it has me looking forward to Terrifier 4, which I can only hope has more of the tone of the first film, because there are sequences within this end scene in the fairgrounds that go back to that very muted color palette, those tighter shots with like a much closer lens. The blood becomes a different color in these end sequences, and it speaks more to that first gritty grindhouse looking almost black blood look of the Terrifier films. We got a lot of bright blood with the 2 set piece kills. Brooke's death with the piano leg implements. We even get the sort of like montage-ish scene of him putting all of those weapons into that piano leg that he finally does do her away with. Like, we get a lot of really, really good Terrifier feeling scenes within this. So yeah, I really like it. I really am looking forward to that 4th film, only because in my heart of hearts, I want it to really do the horseshoe effect. I want it to be a mirror of that first film.
That would be an interesting take. For me, I really, really like Terrifier 1, but I also really like Terrifier 2. The only reason why I think I've watched Terrifier 1 more often is just because it's shorter. It's just it's a breezy 90 minutes, and I like it short. But I can't argue with the fact that basically by the time Sienna gets her Valkyrie costume on, and to the time when they get to the Terrifier funhouse, I adore that portion of the movie. Like, I adore it. I love every aspect of it. It's really fucking cool. And so it's almost 2.5 hours. And when you're trying to relax and you're tired and blah, 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 you don't always want to watch a 2.5 hour movie, especially when the things that I like the most about the movie are at the tail end of it.
Yeah. The next movie, you're in luck. It is still long, but not quite as long. It's about 2 hours long. And it's another entrance to a Christmas film. We have a lot of Christmas horror films, and I'm always looking out for more violent ones instead of hokey ones. And this really fits the bill. So I'm very excited that we'll have another one. It's nice to have more Halloween-y films. It seems like there's not a lot, but Chris was making a list, and in fact, Oz Perkins made a list of Halloween-y horror films. You yourself made a great list of horror films to watch, 31 for 31. If you've not tuned into Wes's Horror Historian channel on TikTok, do that now. I think that we should have some links in the description to some of the things. And, Chris didn't popularize his list, but he has popularized his recent release of remixes from the Cults album, or his vaguely cultish album. The remix of Cults is up now, so you can check that out at anorex.com. You can always find us at splatterpictures.net too. I just wanted to put all of that out there as your tricks and treats on this Day of the Dead, so that at least once a year we drop a fucking self-promotion link in the goddamn episode.
But what do we got next for them?
Coming up next, we have 2023's Cobweb. So we're staying with some current movies, which is kind of cool, and it's something that I've not seen. I think it'll be a really nice break from some very visceral splatter that we've covered with the 2 Terrifier movies into something a little more atmospheric and ooky spooky for November.
Yeah, we thought we would just cozy it up, bring it all back home, and not have everything just be so wet and wild for a little bit. So Cobweb seems like a good decision. It was a horror film that was one of my famous, you got to watch it for the first time during the month of Halloween. I always have to make sure that I watch something new during the month of October.
Does it have a candle in a hallway scene? That's all you need from a haunted housey kind of thing.
I think you'll be very satisfied with the lighting.
Okay, good to hear.
But on that note, I'm Wes Knipe.
And I'm Typical Lydia.
And you've been listening to our Halloween hangover episode of Dead Air. If you like this show, you can find more episodes and other content on splatterpictures.net, Spotify, or wherever you download podcasts. We also upload all episodes to YouTube now, if you'd prefer to listen that way. You can find us across social media like Instagram, X, and TikTok, and the show is edited by Lydia Peever and hosted by Lydia Peever and me, Wes Knipe. We'll see you next time.